Good afternoon, folks. This is Keith Lane. Today is Wednesday, January the 15th, 2014. This is for Sage and for shared services. Bo and Kim and I have looked long and hard at the issue about phantom documents, and we strongly believe that this is not user error for a number of reasons. And so what I want to do today is try to give you an idea of what those reasons are. So we know in BIP there were four request IDs that had problem. Request ID 366303, 36711, 37720, and 38811. All of those data packets, for lack of a better term, request IDs, were created between 4/23/13 and 5/21, May 21st, 2013. So we ran a list cube on those dates alone on the BIP list cube data, and we ran it, and we see that data was altered or put into the info cube during the 2014 budget process for 2013 records, which shouldn't have happened. And when I count the number of records, I see that 11,963 records with a 2013 year variable were added in those four IDs. Request ID 36633, 36711, 37720, 38811. I am absolutely confident that between the budget office employees, we did not change 12,000 records that would show up in those four request IDs. We're also confident we didn't change some of those records because some of the things happened in versions that we didn't even have access to at the time. A few happened in version 100, which is, I think, where the departments do their budget, and we were in county managers recommended at the time. Some things happened in budget office recommended, which is just a pass-through number for us. We never changed numbers there. Changes were made in the county managers recommended, a bunch of tiny numbers, and changes were made, most importantly, in commissioner approved. Now again, let's remember the setup. For all those changes to have been made, Kim Connolly would have had to, we were working in the 2013-14 budget, which is 2014 is the fiscal year that things are logged on, and you can see lots of changes were made in 2014 as expected, because that's the year we were working on, but there were changes in 2013 as well. Kim would have had to have changed the year variable back from 2014 to 2013 for during these request IDs and during those four dates. And during those four dates, 12,000 records would have had to have been changed across multiple version types: 100, budget office recommended, county manager recommended, and commissioner approved. That's just extraordinarily highly unlikely that Kim would have reversed the year, which she did temporarily, maybe for 10 minutes at most, and then across all fund centers, across a bunch of different commitment items, numbers were changed. How do we know they were changed? Well, thankfully, BWP is still up. BWP was the version of the database or the business warehouse at the time that we were using to do the 12-13 budget, which is correct. So we have a frozen in time ability look at what the correct 2012-13 budget it looks like. So I ran a list cube for just 2013 for value types 20 and 150, just a subset, to see what was done correctly in BWP, and then I compare that against BIP, and we find many instances where things were opposite. A perfect example is if you look at the first one here. If we look at value type let's look at value type 20 and 150 because that's what matters in the commissioner approved. I'm looking in the BIP list cube. This is a pivot table in Excel, but it's data out of the BIP list cube. I see a negative $10,000 and $657 in 150 and value type 20. When I go to the BWP, which was correct, and I look at the version is and let's see, and we want value type 20 and 150, which is correct. I see the appropriate amount added into that in request ID 15420, yet over here I see that amount taken out, and I see several other amounts taken out, and we see that in many cases. Some things that were taken out in BWP were added back in BIP. Some things that were added into BWP were taken out of BIP, to the tune of 12,000 records. That is far more than user error would indicate. So, having said that, what I think I would like to do is have you guys at Sage look a little deeper and see possibly if there were anything happening. I'm going to send you this Excel document with two different pivot tables with BWP list cube data and BIP list cube data. But what I'm seeing here, and let me drag some information over here for you, I'm now looking at the BIP database, SEM database, or SBS prep database, and I'm looking at the request IDs. And we know that the BIP SBS prep database was just a rollover from the BWP, and that makes sense. We can see, obviously, if I look over here at the spreadsheet and I see BWP had request IDs of 12,327, 13,212. These, we should see those in BIP because BIP simply copied over from BW, and indeed we do when we look at the request ID manager function. I see 13,212, 12,3277. That makes sense. These were when we were making changes directly to the 2012-13 budget in 2012. That makes sense. We're working on the 12-13 budget before that time. Perfectly understandable. Then, as we scroll up in time, we see the problem request IDs happening around 423 and 424, this 36633, 36711. These happened, and those are altering data that was correct in the previous year, in the previous request IDs down here in these numbers. And you can see that when I look here and I see these four request IDs altered 2013 numbers that were correct in these request IDs in BWP. So BIP has these request IDs which are correct, and then BIP also has these request IDs which has 2013 data in it which is incorrect. What I would like to do, if at all possible, is in these incorrect request IDs take out individual records of data. I would like to take out the 12,000, almost 12,000 records out of those four request IDs that are problematic here in BIP. This three, let's see, where are they? Right here. Hold on. You've seen them. 36633, 36711, and there are two other ones as well in May. And I don't want to take out those request IDs, all of them, but I want to take all the records in those request IDs, but I want to take out all the 2013 records in those request IDs, because I think that will bring everything back into balance and sort of get rid of all those phantom data issues that happened. 12,000 records worth of phantom data that happened in those four request IDs that start with a 3. That still does not we want to do that in QAS. I know you guys are making a copy of QAS so we can do some practice. But that said, it still doesn't answer the question why 12,000 records for fiscal year 2013 were changed when the SBS prep system was in fiscal year 2014. I understand, and I assume you all understand, that Kim, on occasion, someone in the budget office may have taken SBS prep, the SEM system in SBS prep, and said, let's look at 2013 data for a few minutes, and we may have done that and may have accidentally changed a record or two, but there's no way we would have changed 12,000 records, because we only look at that something in 2013 for 10 minutes, then we roll the budget system, the SEM system, back to 2014. So I don't think our solution yesterday, that this was user error, that users made these changes across 12,000 records, is a viable explanation. I think we need to look deeper. We've gone about as far as we can. I'm going to hand you all this data, send you the spreadsheet, try to put this video up on YouTube, and see where we can go from there. I'm sure there are going to be questions. Christina, I hope you understand what I'm saying here, and I hope Sage is understanding, and we can talk at some point. Thank you, guys.